All right, let's dive into a pretty wild story. This comes from the front lines of a massive project. We're talking about what happens when you have to cram 200 people into a space that, well, just won't stretch. Welcome to the 80-centimeter battlefield.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. It makes no sense, right? More people, less space. That should equal total chaos and zero productivity. But what if the exact opposite happened? This one shocking idea is really at the heart of this entire story.
And look, this wasn't some academic theory or a thought experiment. Nope, this discovery was forged in the heat of a real-world development project that just exploded into something nobody could have possibly predicted.
So to really get what went down, you have to stop thinking of a project as just a to-do list. The source material puts it perfectly. It's like a living organism. It's born, it starts gathering people, it grows and grows, and then it hits its peak. And this particular organism, well, it was about to hit a massive, and I mean massive, growth spurt.
Every project has a beginning, and this one started out pretty chill. The early phases were all calm, totally manageable. But, yeah, that wasn't going to last long.
Okay, so check this out, because the speed of this growth is just insane. In the requirements phase, you're looking at under 50 people. Still pretty cozy, right? Design phase, it stays steady around 50. But then, bam! The programming and testing phases kick in, and the team just balloons to over 150 people, eventually hitting a peak of more than 200. This created one simple, absolutely critical problem.
Exactly. Where in the world do you physically put all of these people? The office space was what it was. The walls weren't going to move. You can't just snap your fingers and create more desks when your team is quadrupled in size. They did look into renting some meeting rooms nearby, but that just wasn't flexible enough for what they needed. One week they needed space for 5 people, the next it was 10. The situation was getting pretty desperate. The solution they came up with? It was brutal and completely unexpected. If you want to see how they managed to cram 200 people into a space built for way, way less, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe for more surprising stories from the world of work. CART Double T.
And this, my friends, brings us to the battlefield itself. With basically no other options left, the team had to look inward and make a radical call about the one and only thing they still had any control over.
This was it. This was the only dial they could turn. If you can't make the room bigger, you have to make the space for each person smaller.
And they came up with a number, 80 centimeters. That's about 31 inches. That was the maximum width for a developer's entire world. Their desk, their computer, their keyboard, and them. Just try to picture that for a second. And just when you thought it couldn't get any more intense, it did. For the testing team, the space got crunched down to just 60 centimeters. That is less than 2 feet. We are now officially in claustrophobia territory.
I mean, we're not just talking about a crowded office anymore. This was a physical reality where personal space just didn't exist. You were literally elbow to elbow, knee to knee, trying to write complex code.
The whole atmosphere was just pure chaos. New people were showing up constantly, so you were always packed in with strangers. It was not comfortable, it was not quiet, and it definitely didn't feel like some big unified team. But here's the kicker. It worked. Against all the odds, systems were actually being built. The work was getting done.
So what on earth could we possibly learn from this incredibly stressful, cramped, and, let's be honest, kind of insane environment? Well, the core lesson is super powerful, and it's actually incredibly relevant to how we all think about work today.
And here it is, the big takeaway. Space is not just a line item on a budget. Space design is a fundamental management issue. The physical environment directly shapes how we think and how we perform. That extreme closeness, it forced instant communication. There were no long email chains or waiting for a meeting. Problems got solved on the spot, in real time. This whole experience proved that when you intentionally design a space, even a crazy one like this, you can actually drive performance. If this idea of space as a management tool kind of changes how you see your own office or remote setup, let us know by liking this video. It really helps us find more great sources to explain. Click thumb.
And that's really the ultimate lesson from the 80-centimeter battlefield. We usually see limitations as problems, as things to get rid of. But this story shows us that a constraint, when you face it with intentional design, can actually create a super valuable solution, one you never would have found otherwise.
So why does this story about a crazy crowded office from the past matter so much right now? Well, because in this new world of hybrid schedules and remote work, we are all being forced to completely rethink what a workspace even is. And this is the final thought I really want to leave you with. In a world where we can technically work from anywhere, it begs the question, why do we even come together in person at all? What is the real value of a shared physical space? The 80-centimeter battlefield suggests the answer isn't about comfort, it's about performance. And that's a lesson worth thinking about.